is Maya Okada Erickson. I'm the pastry chef of Langbaan in Portland, Oregon, and I'm challenging you to use one of my favorite ingredients that has quickly become one of my signatures, and that is fried shallots. I absolutely can't wait to see what you come up with, and happy cooking. Bye!
Welcome back to Key Ingredient, the show where every month a chef or subscriber gives me an ingredient to work with and I turn it into a dessert. This month's key ingredient is Chef Maya Okada Erickson gave me this ingredient, and she's kind of a powerhouse. She's originally from San Francisco, and she worked under Elizabeth Faulkner, who I featured in episode 6, which was the date episode. So we have like a nice historical crossover there. She's also been featured on shows that are on Netflix and Food Network, which we have that in common. I was on Clash of the Cones. That was me in the finale complaining about adding chunks, which people thought was a bit, but it wasn't. Now, shallots are a part of the allium family, so they're like not as sharp as your like traditional onion. They are a little bit more mild and sweeter, but that shouldn't suggest that this is going to be easy for me, because it's not. This is also, I think, the fourth ingredient that I've been given that doesn't normally pair with something sweet. And I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing because so far I haven't missed, I don't think. I will admit, I had no idea what I was going to do when I heard that I got shallots. Back in New Orleans, when I was running Arcana Creamery, one of the other vendors at the farmers markets asked if I would be willing to use one of their products in my ice cream. And they made like salsas and hot sauces and things like that. And so they gave me a ghost pepper, I think a barbecue sauce or something like that. So it had a lot of onion flavor, which was going to be like the hardest thing to mask. But I did find my way around the onion flavor by adding in something smoky and something a little bitter. So I made what did I make? I made a blueberry ghost pepper ice cream with a cocoa nib brittle and a smoked berry compote swirl. It was really good. I managed to make that work. I don't think it's gonna be enough this time. I feel like this is in Maya's wheelhouse more than mine, and I tend to reach out to chefs who are either on my same level or much better than me, because that's how I challenge myself and I learn and grow with my skill. And this one really challenged me a lot. Thinking about it was very stressful and very overwhelming, and I mean, I handle stress pretty well, at least I did in the past at restaurants. So this shouldn't be any different. So I sat with it for a couple of days and I meditated on it for a little bit, maybe a little too long. I started seeing it in my waking life, in doing things that had nothing to do with the episode at all. But oddly, that's kind of when it came to me, and I got like wildly ambitious about this one. Maya's the pastry chef for a Thai restaurant, and I didn't necessarily want to go that route, but I kind of wanted to keep it in that arena. So I thought back to when I made ice cream for Miles Robbins, and he chose a lot of Asian flavors that are not traditionally sweet. So I made a butter mochi for one of his ice creams, so I thought that maybe I would start there. I also made like some caramelized taiyaki, but I'm not gonna quite go that far this time. Although it was good. I'm also not going to do any recipe testing this time. I'm just going to do this straight away and hope that it works. Usually when you develop a recipe, you make it a few times until you land on the version that you were aiming for in the first place, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just going to hope that I can nail it on the first try. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a butter mochi. I'm gonna use the same recipe that I used for the ice cream, but I'm gonna make a shallot butter mochi. So I'm going to caramelize some shallots in some of the butter and then infuse that into the butter to get that flavor in there. Hopefully it will be like sweet enough with the caramelization and it won't be too like sharp and oniony. It might, we'll see. I mean, they are sweet, so that might be a thing. Then I'm gonna brush a coconut thyme caramel over the butter mochi. So I'm gonna use, instead of heavy cream, I'm gonna use coconut milk and coconut cream. Then I'm gonna infuse the thyme flavor in, and then I'm gonna finish that with a little bit of butter and salt. So it's like kind of a vegan caramel, except for the butter. So it's not. But I'm gonna brush that over the top so that it'll just accent the flavor of the shallot and not cover it up. I still want you to be able to taste the shallot, because that's the point. So there's this Thai dessert, and I can't remember what it's called, but what else is new? but it's made with water chestnuts and tapioca starch, and they're dyed red, and they kind of look like little rubies. I think that's what it's called. Ruby does, I don't know. But I'm not going to quite do that, but I'm going to take that sort of approach and apply that to some apples. So I'm going to make some poached apples. I'm going to poach that in some pink coconut water and a little bit of beet juice because I can't stand red food coloring or food coloring in general. And I'm going to finish that with a little bit of lime juice and rice vinegar. So I'm going to dice that up, and that'll be used to like garnish the plate. So that have like a nice like pop of color, and it'll be like kind of sharp and acidic and tangy. Then I'm going to make a pandan ice cream with a shallot compote swirl. I might just leave the ice, well, no. I'm going to make a pandan ice cream, and I'm going to make a shallot jam, and I'm going to blend that up. Maybe I'll add it in to the ice cream while it's churning so that it's like a flavor throughout and not necessarily like a swirl, because I feel like a swirl might be too concentrated and that might just be like too much. And then I think I'm going to deep fry and no, you know what? I'm not. That's too much. That's too much. Okay. That's what I'm doing. And that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. Yeah. Yes. That's what's happening. And okay, that's what we're doing. And here we go. I know that caramelized shallots aren't exactly fried, but they're kind of close, sort of. So I'm going to save the fried shallots for the garnish. I'm going to start off by slicing the shallots and giving them a rinse under some cold water. This will help remove some of the compounds that make them really sharp and pungent, so it'll just mellow them out a little bit, which is definitely what I'm going for here. I'm going to melt some butter and set some aside to mix in later on. The rest I'm going to use to start caramelizing the shallots with, and I'm going to add a little bit of salt to that. While those are caramelizing, I'm going to start on the batter. So for the batter, I'm going to mix some sweet rice flour that I've had in the freezer since before I even moved, along with some sugar, salt, and baking powder. I'm going to whisk that up and then set that aside, which coincidentally is also what happens to me on dates recently. People tend to meet me, get really confused or bored, and then set me aside, which is fine. The wet mix for the butter mochi is going to be milk, vanilla, corn syrup, and eggs, and I'll whisk that up together and set that aside. Did you see that? I used both hands. Are you impressed? This part where I spin the measuring cup and make it dance is totally unnecessary, but dancing comes up later on, but I'm putting it in here for foreshadowing, which I learned all about when I went to school for fiction writing and then dropped out. Now that the shallots are finished, I'm going to blend them up with that reserved butter and half. I strained the shallot so that there wouldn't be any large bits, but the butterfat solidified on me when I did that, so I thought I would have to add some more back in. It was probably such a trivial amount anyway that it wouldn't have even made a difference, but the thought was like destroying me, so I added more anyway. Next, I'm going to mix the wet into the dry, and there's no chance of overmixing here because I'm using rice flour, which is gluten-free. I'm pouring that into a fancy pan and baking that off for about an hour, which means now I have some time to entertain Buckley with his peanut butter toy. Part of me feels like this is emotionally abusive because he really likes peanut butter and this isn't real, but it's fine. Okay. I'm not usually this sensitive to alliums, but this time I was. I'm going to sweat these out with a little salt on the stove, covered so that they steam. Those were steaming for about 10 minutes, so now I'm going to add some vanilla sugar, a little water, and then continue to cook that uncovered for about 30 minutes. Oh, that's good. I'm gonna add a little I'm gonna add ginger. Oh, oh. It's still not sweet enough though, but that's good. I do this, every time. I was supposed to add corn syrup here, but I used it all, and I thought that I had some, but I didn't. I did find a pint of Szechuan peppercorns that I'll probably never use again, and a jar of tamarind paste that I said I would use to make pad thai, but also never used, so I just decided to use honey instead. That's what you get for not being prepared. It's fine. But I also had to use 2 different kinds because I ran out of that too. Okay, that's hella good. That's good. I'm gonna finish by adding in some coconut vinegar, something I used to make the coconut milks off ice cream a while back. That's a White Lotus joke. I blended it up and I knew that I probably needed more corn syrup because this is gonna be frozen and I didn't want it to be too hard while frozen, so I added in some simple syrup to finish. Maybe a little more salt. That's good. Pandan is a mysterious little plant that for some reason kind of tastes like rice, but if it was steamed with grass. I'm gonna blend this up with part of my milk base to get the most flavor out of the leaves. I learned this from watching Britney Spears' Instagram. I'm gonna pour that mixture into a pot along with some heavy cream and sugar and then bring that up to a simmer and let that steep for a bit. Can you guess which one of these yolks is not organic? That's crazy. Next, I'm gonna strain the mixture, temper in the eggs. I'm never really too careful about this. I kind of think people are too gentle with this step. It's like, it's never gonna cook the eggs unless your mixture was like scalding hot, which it never really is. Some people say that pandan is vanilla-like, but I don't really think so. I think vanilla is vanilla, and it's underappreciated. Vanilla isn't boring, it's complex. I think we need some vanilla here. A good vanilla ice cream is amazing. I put a lot of effort into my vanilla ice cream recipe. I do love a great vanilla ice cream. I want Dairy Queen. Even more than a chocolate chip cookie. Call me a Philistine! Enough chit-chat! Now that the base has fully chilled and matured, it's ready to be spun. When I ran Arcana Creamery, this is the machine that I used to make all of my ice cream. I wanted a Carpigiani machine, but it was like $30,000. Like, get out of here. I opted just to mix in the shallot jam rather than swirl it in because I wanted it to be a more nuanced flavor and not like a concentrated pop. These will go into the freezer to harden and set for a few hours. I'm going to use coconut milk because I couldn't find coconut cream, which is fine. I'm just going to throw in a bunch of thyme, heat that on the stove, and then let that infuse off the heat. Next, I'm going to caramelize some sugar and then add in the thyme coconut milk in stages, reducing after each addition, and then sneak in some butter and cook that to 225 Fahrenheit. I like to add a little lemon juice to my caramel. It really helps it taste a little sharper and balances out the, like the bitter notes. Ooh. Yeah. I'll just put this little extra piece of tape right here. Okay, last thing, I'm gonna slice up some Pink Lady apples and then bust out that juicer that I need to justify buying. And I'm gonna slice up some fresh beets and juice those to make the base of my poaching liquid. On its own, it would be pretty earthy, but I'm adding in some other things too. To a pot, I'm gonna add in some pink coconut water. the beet juice, some coconut water, sugar, rice vinegar, and the juice of 1 lime. Once that barely starts to steam, I'm going to gently add in the sliced apples and let those poach just for about 2 to 3 minutes. Something about this smell reminds me of one of the kitchens I used to work in, where I would always see my ice cream and cookies go missing from my station because the line cook would always go behind my back and eat them, which was fine because I would go behind his back and put fish sauce in his coffee. These are going to go over an ice bath to stop the cooking process, and I'm going to chill them down along with their poaching liquid. Me! So if you enjoy these videos, please like and subscribe, and comment endlessly, and watch these videos on repeat. I had the butter mochi in the freezer and I was gonna put it in the fridge, but I forgot. So it was a little tough to slice, but it's fine. Don't do this. I know this isn't good for your knife, but honestly, I didn't care and I wanted to use the torch. Now I'm gonna take those apple batons and dice them up, and I'm gonna dress them in some extra rice wine vinegar and lime juice. I'm gonna dollop a little bit of the coconut thyme caramel on the plate, not a lot, just kind of an accent. Then I'm going to place the butter mochi square that I halved onto a corner of that caramel and drizzle a little more caramel down the side of one of the halves. The poached apple cubes are going to go in little patches around the outside of the mochi and a little quenelle of the ice cream on top. I'm garnishing with some lime zest, and I actually did have fried shallots I was going to use as well, but I spilled the entire bowl on the floor, so I'm not going to use those. It does need the ice cream though, to be honest. It secretly tastes like cereal, like sweetened cereal, but like with shallots. It's not bad. It's pretty good. But like you have to know that shallots are in there. Okay. Yeah. Not bad. Oh, wait. This is also episode 12, so I have been doing key ingredient for a full year now. So thank you to all of the chefs who worked with me and gave me the time of day, even though you had no idea who I was. Thank you to all of you who are watching and participating and, you know, sticking around for this. It means a lot to me. Thank you. Oh.